from. Tell your girl she can kick it if she wants some, but we got no time to waste.
Welcome to 4AZ. I'm your host, Tyler McDowell Blanken. On this edition, we'll discuss the first 2 episodes of Abbott Elementary Season 5. We'll also predict what could be ahead and much more. You know how we get down here. I am not alone. I'm excited to welcome back Sarah Beth and Mike Steph. All right, you two, Season 5 is here. We're ready to discuss the first 2 episodes. We'll start with Sarah Beth. SB, what's going on? How you been?
I've been good. We had fall break last week and back to regular. We had PD today and then kids tomorrow. So nice week off. And my very limited free time, I volunteer with the Ronald McDonald House. Been there for 18 years this month, actually. I started my senior year of high school. So that's my very precious, and I'm super excited. We've got a possible partnership with my school. So for those of you that don't know, we help families of kids who are getting sick. But it's a global organization. But every chapter, different state, there's a chapter up in Phoenix. There's one here in Tucson, New York. Our Tucson chapter has additional projects that they do and different outreach. So one of them is a dental care mobile, and so which provides dental to low-income and rural communities. We have one that goes out to Cochise County, and then one that's out with Marana Health that does Pima County. And so we've been kind of working on how do we help with my kids there. We just had our big yearly fundraiser on Friday. So that's where when I'm not dealing with my work stuff, I've been helping volunteer and things there. And so it was a very busy week, but we're good.
I love that. Thank you for sharing, Sarah Beth. Be sure to follow Sarah Beth on social, by the way. Quick plug at Dear Sarah Beth. I think you posted photos from this fundraiser.
I did from the house party.
It looks very classy.
Thank you. Yeah, it's super fun. We actually host it at the house so that people can come in and really see what we do. There's still a lot of misconceptions of oh, you take care of sick kids, which we do, but not in the realm of nursing. We help provide lodging mostly for families, so that way you're not having to travel, or if you live in Phoenix and you're down here getting treatment, you don't have to pay additional for hotels and things like that. So we cover all of that. We provide meals so that it's just one less stressor when you have to be out of town to take care of your child. And so obviously very near and dear to my heart. It's an awesome organization that everything within stays, even though it's a global organization. So anytime you do donate, it stays within your house or your chapter. And so, which is sometimes unheard of, especially for these bigger, Goodwill CEOs take a pretty big cut, and that's not how almost everything they goes directly back into your community. And so I'm very proud of it. I get to do house tours at this party, which is my favorite thing, of walking people through the house and talking about all the awesome things we do. And clearly very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's evident how much the organization means to you. I'm so happy that you had a nice, meaningful fall break, Sarah Beth, and best wishes for quarter 2. What, 9 more weeks? And then
9 more weeks. It's crazy. Quarter 1 went by quick.
Oh,
that first 2 weeks felt like the longest 2 weeks of my life. And then somehow I blinked and we were wrapping up quarter 1.
One day at a time, one foot in front of the other. You know how we do. Exactly. I like to call this brother the hardest working man in show business. The Summer of Steph mixtape, now available. The Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast. Hidden Gems football. Shout out to the team at 19 Media Group. Mike Steph, what's the vibe in Brooklyn? How you been?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm getting ready to go back off my vacation. I had 11 days, a whirlwind vacation that started in Virginia, then took me to various parts of North Carolina. Then I came back up to the city and stayed a couple of days, and then I went back down to Lehigh Valley, Allentown for the last couple of days to spend time with my sister Steph and brother Mont. And in between that time, I recorded a lot of podcasts, because my partner, the Mojo King, was on vacation himself, but he was on cruise. So, I stood in and held down the fort. So I had 5 in 5 days. Wow. Yeah, I'm tired.
Yeah, he has the title belt for a reason. Our audience knows this. We know Mike Steph.
But besides that, no, I'm doing good. I'm glad to speak. I'm glad to speak with y'all, and y'all give me that second win to at least get through until tomorrow, and I have to deal with the job.
I get it. I get it. Well, be sure to also follow Mike at Mike_Steph on Instagram to see all that he is up to. All right, you two, we mentioned it a few moments ago. The first 2 episodes of season 5 are here. We're going to start with episode 1, team building. I want to recite the plot, and then we'll kick it to Sarah Beth to get big picture thoughts on the season opener. Team building. During development day, the district implements mandatory team building exercises for the staff at Abbott. That sounds very, very familiar and relatable. A gas leak forces everyone outside. Yikes. A new teacher, Dominic, was once one of Barbara's students, and she is delighted that he is now in the classroom. Janine struggles with her place now that she isn't a new teacher. Jacob and Mr. Morden prepare Melissa for teaching 6th graders. I have a feeling these two will have thoughts on that. And then finally, Gregory teaches Mr. Johnson how to ride a bike. After fixing the gas leak, the repairman tells Ava the school building has several other problems. We have a lot looming over season 5 already. Sarah Beth, big picture.
Big picture. I love that we have a former student, now a teacher. Last spring, I actually had a former student come in and do some practicum work with me, which was just such a cool experience. Very weird, but also very cool, that you want to go into this profession and do these things. And it's really cool seeing her be so excited to be back in teaching, because again, I know we think retirement's sitting there, but she seems very excited with the new position. It was interesting seeing them be punished with team building, which I do think at most educators, we do hate the back to school icebreaker team building piece. That it was very interesting that was kind of the punishment, because I think for every educator, we would see that as a punishment. That
for sure.
I have to go stand in the parking lot. And then just the reality of it was kind of funny, especially being in a district that's older, but constantly growing. And it's I teach at one of the older campuses. And it's when they were yeah, did you hear the school, their roof just caved in? And they're their school's newer than ours. And then Morton falls through the lake. That from a public school, that part hit a little too close to home, where I was yeah, everything's falling apart, but we do the best we can with what we got.
Amen. And I think those team building exercises or required sessions that you mentioned, Sarah Beth, I think that really even transcends education. Yeah. I think most jobs have some sort of required team building element, and it can either go really well and it's positive, or sometimes you can just tell walking in, okay, people are kind of out on it already, maybe unfairly at times, but yeah.
And I think it was interesting to see how it actually did, right, none of them were excited, and not the team building exercises themselves had any impact, but because they had that time away, they were able to build those relationships and have those talks. And watching Jacob and Morton try to scare Shementi about teaching middle school.
Let's talk about it.
The other, I know it'll probably come from Theory Corner, but man, Miss Ava is in love, and that is crazy. She is out and
she's outside.
She is out talking about it. And she had her whole PowerPoint of them at the beach.
Yes. Look how handsome he is. We get it. Yeah. We know he's very handsome.
And she even would say, she's because I'm now in love. What? I did not see going that quick, that flip, but
for sure. Kind of like our students sometimes. That is a great tease for Oshan Corner. I am positive we will get there later in the episode.
Sure we will.
Sarah Beth. Yes, we will. We must. Mike Steph, big picture. What do you think of team building?
I found it funny. Sarah Beth did bring up that it was the punishment from the district to have this team building. So I wrote the notes that I jotted down was that the district is still being passive aggressive with their punishment. So you could tell if at the beginning of the season, they're still underneath the district's thumb. Mm-hmm. So it's not like everything was, forgotten and taken care of. It's okay, we're going to keep an eye on you. So that should be a reoccurring theme throughout the season. Mm-hmm. Also with when you said Jacob and Morton scaring Melissa about the horrors of 6th and 7th grade or what have you. That was a little bit foreboding to where we end up doing it in episode 2, which is crazy. But one thing, and I don't know if we're gonna go into it right now, but one thing that really shined through to me was Janine having to learn a new role. Like she's not the shiny new toy anymore, and how that kind of affected her until the end of the episode, which we'll talk about. That she kind of realized, like, okay, I have a new place. I have a new, I have a new responsibility now, and she kind of started embracing that. But throughout the episode, she was trying to figure out what's her role, where can she fit in, where can she stick out, not realizing that just being her is good enough. Things are evolving, and she's evolving with that. So yeah, it was interesting. It was a good note to start on, but I will save my next comment to see exactly if you're going to mention it.
Fantastic. To your point, Mike, what I love about what you mentioned in your takeaway is, to me, that's also a reflection on the journey that Janine's been on since season one, is trying to develop and find your work identity at your school.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think all of us have a teacher identity, but then also your identity and your purpose outside of work. Who are you? Who are you meant to be with? All of that just has been so well done over the past 4 seasons. And I do love that now that Janine has more stable footing underneath her. She also has her mans. She knows she's a great teacher. There's this new potential struggle for her, like you said, Mike, of no longer being the mentee and instead just being a bit of a veteran teacher. And what's that going to look like for her at Abbott? Yeah, great point, Mike Steph. All right, you two. We are discussing, that was great and very efficient. Perhaps we'll have more thoughts on this one. Episode 2, cheating. Now, our audience may recall that during our season 5 preview, answering the biggest questions, we had some theories. I know Mike Steph had some big ideas about what this episode could entail. And I think Abbott went a bit of a different creative direction here, but perhaps that's not a bad thing. So plot description, then we'll kick it actually to Mike Steph, and then we'll go Sarah Beth after. So cheating. Melissa is confident in teaching the 6th graders. However, her confidence is tested when Gregory informs her that the students are cheating. Tariq's girlfriend's son is now in Janine's class. Meanwhile, a new counselor arrives to the school, and Barbara and Jacob take unnecessary advantage of her presence. That they do. Mike Steph, we're going to start with you on this one. Cheating. Big picture thoughts?
Well, the most glaring one is Melissa was actually was humbled, because at the end of episode 1, she kind of tried to backtrack and went to Ava, was like, I think I just want to stay in 2nd grade or what have you. And Ava's like, no, you was talking mucho junk. You said you had them. They're gonna learn what a teacher is really like, and you're gonna put them in their place. So no, we discussed this in June. It's the beginning of the year. You're gonna have to do this. But one thing that did concern me, and if anybody knows me, both on air and off air, I'm not a prude. But the part of the one curse rule being implemented in a 6th grade class, I could even see that somewhat in high school, especially now with our society or whatever. I can kind of see that. But in 6th grade, part of me, and I really don't want to go down this avenue, but so far, but part of me is like, all right, I know it's supposed to be an inner city school, but to me, that's kind of like, I wouldn't say patronizing, but it's like, all right, I'll give y'all one curse, because I know y'all from the rough, tough streets of Philly, and I know y'all talk about this way out of school, so therefore, to ingratiate myself for y'all, because I have a potty mouth myself, all right, everybody gets one curse. But more importantly, what got me was the approach that Melissa took was surprising to me, because she tried to be their friend instead of their teacher. And one of the biggest statements that I found from the episode was when the student was like, yeah, you was much smarter to us when we was in 2nd grade. Other words, it was almost like they were disappointed, like, yo, we thought we was getting Mr. Menti, not this version that's kind of kissing up to us or trying to buddy with us. The reason why we liked you or like you is because of your realness. So for you to kind of use this technique was kind of off-putting. But like I said, the cursing while it's funny, and it is a comedy. Once again, in the sphere of things, of like, I hope they're not going down that road. I mean, because it seems like even last season we was talking about certain subjects or certain scenes was like, as an adult, I'm funny, but at the same time, we've grown to be accustomed to for their wit, for everything not to be so surface based. So I just kind of found that more surface based than anything. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting season with that particular storyline, and the way it came across. I mean, it came about and came together. Seemed like they're going to be on a new foot, and it's going to be a combination of the two. But yeah, it kind of threw me off a little bit. One last thing.
Oh, got me. Yeah, pump fake.
Now, we talked about we have a new person as the counselor, right?
We do,
and that kind of goes into what I was discussing during our pre-production meeting of things not being carried over from episode to episode. We introduced Dominic, Barbara's former student, who's now a teacher at Abbott. We didn't see him nor hear of him or hear anything about him in episode 2. I know it's still early, but you would have thought you would at least saw him in the main mix. Morton is not a main character, but he does intertwine himself in. Now we introduce the counselor. Okay, it'll be interesting to me. Do we see her in episode 3, or do we not see her until the mid-season finale? Like, if you're gonna add these characters to the mix, in order for us to be attached to, I'm not saying throw everything in the wall at once, but at the same time, there should be some type of thread from episode 1 to episode 2 to connect it. That was just me.
Sure. Well, to go to your earlier point, Mike, before we pass it back to SB, I completely agree with you. Can't believe I'm saying that out loud. I completely agree with you about the cursing. I do appreciate when sitcoms take chances, but this felt, it was a bit funny, but it felt so unrealistic to me. Like, this is never, each of you get one curse. I'm thinking, my teacher brain, how do you track that? What if admin comes in? Like, it was a reach by Abbott. Sarah Beth, you want to jump in on this, please?
So I actually probably have from similar. I have a little bit differing because 6th graders are, in my experience, love them dearly, very foul-mouthed. One of the big things for me, I've always worked on them with, is not one curse a day, because also, like, I don't want to keep track, and then we get into the weird, like, was it a curse? We're not. That's too much work. But I would always teach them, like, essentially code switching, right? And I would tell them, like, how I talk to my friends is different. How I talk to my principal is different. How I talk to the teachers on my team is different. How I speak to you. How I speak to you is different than how, like, we have all these ways, right? How I call my childhood best friend is very different than how I, talk to so-and-so. And so the big thing I always would work on them with is that, one, we need to be aware of our surroundings. If I hear that you are cursing somebody out and being disrespectful, we have an issue, right? If I hear we're doing it in front of the littles, we have a problem, right?
Of course,
but you're
a role model.
You're blowing off steam, and you've looked around and it's you and your buddy, right? But one time it was one of my formers, and I knew he was heated. He came out of class. I don't know what happened, but it was a curse word every other word, right? And I knew he was mad. I knew he was just venting. I wasn't going to say anything because I'm watching around and I'm like, it's just him and his buddies. But where he got in trouble is his friend leans over and he goes, Miss Kata's behind us. And he ignores him and keeps going. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm like, your buddy tried to warn you. I'm still not saying anything because I recognize what's going on. But I'm also keeping an eye to make sure no kinders come out, nothing.
Right.
Well, so the student panics and nudges him again. And then he goes, I don't effing care that she's behind me. And I was like, now we got a problem. I was like, so I was going to ignore it. I said I was going to ignore it when you ignored his help. But now that you're saying you don't care, so I do get in a sense of giving them that autonomy. Would I do it within class? No. But did my kids get in trouble just before fall break because we weren't being respectful to actually a former student of yours, Mr. B? Mr. Cam, were we not being respectful to him and had to have a come to Jesus talk about how, like, yes, Mr. Cam is great and super fun, and like, but we still have to show him respect. And I said, now, if I called your parents and told them what you did, what would they say? And one of mine goes, my dad would be pissed.
Period.
He wasn't trying to, like, I get, like, it happens. But yeah, like, I didn't love, because then it just becomes like I'm saying my cuss words so I can say my cuss
Right.
words.
There's a cool factor.
But I think it was interesting.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
And you're the sixth graders. You're the big kids on campus. There's a certain.
And I get it, right? You're trying to be tough. Like,
tell you different.
No matter where you went to school. Like, I hate, on one hand, like, I love my teacher, but like when we act like we weren't kids once, and like, like we didn't do these things. But the one thing I found interesting, I did not love that she tried to be their friend, because that always blows up in your face. My correct friend, you know.
You're good.
Sorry.
We'll mute you if we need to. I think the cricket is now respecting.
There you go.
Maybe respecting. Okay. Well, we'll figure it out. I got you.
That's fine.
We got to mute, brother. I got you.
So because like Morton and Jacob had her so stressed out that she completely like reverted course. Because even in the beginning, she says like they were trying to stress me out, or like they were trying to scare me. And I think had they not gotten in her head, she wouldn't have gone in like, I'm going to be their friend. And then, but I did love how like she at the end saw it as a challenge. And like, how can I like not get back at them, but like, even when she called out the goofballs, where she's like, think about who you're telling. Goofballs, they're the biggest gossips. Like, some of it comes down to just like that life lesson. Like, you're gonna break the rules. Don't be stupid about it. Like,
right. You two really framed this so well. Okay, even though the cursing may have been a reach for me, getting at the heart at as a teacher having a desire, perhaps leaning into wanting to be friends with them, not in a nefarious way, but in a way where you're just trying to reach a new group. That feels very authentic and very real. Mike, you mentioned, again, you brought up the cursing example, and I'm so glad you did. My Fresh Prince of Bel-Air fan brain also thinks, wait, didn't Will like get a detention for this? I know that was in high school, but wasn't that the basis of one of the episodes? If you curse, maybe Bel-Air Prep versus Abbott for the reasons you said, Mike. It didn't quite work for me, but you two have made me kind of reframe this idea in my head. Sometimes you want to connect with kids, and that might lead you to do or make decisions about classroom policies that you end up changing.
And some of it's like learning and like changing it. Like,
of course.
Like, when it became apparent this wasn't working, and it wasn't working the way she thought, like instead of like doubling, like she could have doubled down and let them keep taking the answers and things like that. But instead it was like, no, let's have, and I like that she even addressed it with them. Like, I think that's something that teachers like sometimes miss a lot, is that we don't talk to the kids about these things or about like why. Like, I'm very open with my kids. Even just like they know, like we track behavior all the time, where like different things, like I tracked one day how many times they said my name like out of turn, because I was like, if I hear my name one more time, I'm gonna lose it. But like they don't do it, like they don't realize. And when you start to like have those, like involve them in the discussion of like why, like when they understand the why. And I get that as like a kid who really needed the why. If you didn't give me the why for a rule, like other than like basic, right? Like, yeah, my kids can tell you like I have to walk in the halls because I could trip or whatever. But like some of it, it's like, well, why can't I? Why can't I? Like,
they're kids, they're inquisitive.
I had that same conversation with my senior English teacher, who was wonderful and set up like for like that discourse. But it was like, well, who decided these were bad words?
Right.
Like, where did we get this like idea that certain words we can't say?
That's deep.
Yeah, got it.
That's deep. But answering the why.
And it wasn't being like disrespectful. It was just more of a like, well, why?
Sure.
I get like it's not a social norm, but
yeah.
Especially coming from someone who was raised on a military base who heard lots, like, but it comes down to like what I took away from it was like that code switching in that respect, right? The conversation that my dad and his buddies were having on the airbase was a very different conversation than my dad was having with me at home.
Exactly.
How do we like do that?
Right. And before we kick it back, sorry, Mike Steph, after you.
I'll even say this as a parent, like I have that same situation with my children, you know, because right now my youngest just turned 19 last Thursday. So now the ones that are older, they're pretty much adults. Well, not even pretty much adults, they're adults. we can have a conversation, and let's say one child will talk and let's say use a couple curses, and I'm like, and I'm looking at them. Now, my wife has a totally different perspective from this. She's thinking, listen, I know you're grown, but I'm your mother, I'm your parent, I'm an elder. I don't like my wife doesn't even utter a curse word in front of her older cousins, her aunts, her mom. If she does say, she's like, excuse my language, whatever, you know. But me, I'm on the other hand, I'm a little bit more liberal when it comes to it. I'm like, okay, as long as you don't overdo it. Or sometimes I have to tell one of my children, I'm like, listen, I gave you a little leeway, but you're overdoing it. Like, I'm your father. I'm not your friend. You know, we can have a relationship, we can have an open relationship, we can be friendly, but at the end of the day, I'm your father. I'm not your friend. So there's certain things that just as a father, I have to like, no, we can't do this. You know, and then I have another child that will say, Dad, can I say XYZ beforehand? Because that's how she feels, and she wants to get out, knowing if she was in with her group, with her friends or whatever, she would say it, but just gives me the respect of, Dad, listen, I'm upset. Can I? Okay, go ahead, because I want you to get your feelings out. I don't want you to feel stifled because you're worried about, oh, you said an F word or you know, F bomb or whatever. You know, so I think that kind of correlates when it comes to teaching to a certain degree, especially because you're the adult in the room. So whatever leeway you give them, they're going to always take that extra route. Like, not which go, this will be the last thing, but I'm the type of person, especially at work, you know, different dynamic when it comes to supervision or whatever. But I'm the type of person, like they was installing some new rules, and I personally asked the supervisor, I'm like, okay, where's the boundary? Where's the line? And you're looking at me like, wow. I was like, listen, I'm not a line stepper, but I want to know where the line is. Because I would probably go all the way up to that line to make sure I can do XYZ without getting in trouble. So I want to know exactly what I can't do. You know, I need boundaries, you know, and then I can kind of manipulate the boundaries how I see fit. But that's the same thing when it comes to children. Children need boundaries, but they want to know exactly how far, what can they get away with before they hit that red button. You know, so yeah, it was that part this episode was very interesting amongst other reasons, for a lot of reasons.
For sure. And a great transition for us, Mike. Just a few points I want to hit about cheating before we get to theory corner. I wrote down love triangle is back. Tariq was all over this episode, maybe a little bit too much for my liking. We mentioned earlier in the plot description, Nick is Tariq's stepson. He's in Janine's second grade class, and he was really talking. He was talking his stuff during this episode, including in front of Gregory, of course, to Janine about, you know, their past relationship, and kind of giving the vibe of, okay, you know, you're with Gregory right now, maybe a downgrade, but I'm out here shining and doing my thing and being father of the year. And I don't know that this is going to be a serious storyline whatsoever. Again, I think this is another play for laughs. But Tariq, I mean, we'll get in our exit ticket to the winner of this 2-pack. Tariq was everywhere. I didn't expect to see him so much in the first 2 episodes, namely episode 2, cheating. Mm-hmm. What do we think? Love triangle back or nah, just for laughs?
I think what would be interesting is that in the way in which he treats Janine, like, never really changes, right? Like, we learned that early on. Like, I always think about, like, one of the first times we see him where he, like, takes her breakfast sandwich, right? Because he hadn't eaten or whatever. And, like, all these pieces in which he constantly walks over Janine, right? And, like, I do love, like, he has shown a lot of character growth, like, right? Like, stepping up in the PTA and things like that. But I always wonder, because Janine is such a people pleaser, right? Like, is this because, like, Janine kind of, like, let him, like, is his new relationship with, like, Nick's mom? Because we never see him with the mom. I don't think they've ever shown them. Like, he shows up and he's like, I'm here for my whatever it was he was calling him early on. I don't think he called him a stepson, but
yeah.
Like,
my son is a star. He needs to be
my
front
son
row.
is a star. Like, he has all these things.
He needs to be right here, Janine. Mm-hmm. Just go ahead and walk over there, Nick.
And so, like, it's very interesting. One, we've never seen mom. Right. And not, like, in a, like, speculating way. Like, I don't think mom exists or anything like that. But I'm really interested to see, because it seems like Janine is the only person he really ever does walk all over. right?
I also
And like some of it, right? Like Ava, and I can't think of the PTO, the one with the tattoo. I can't think of her name.
Oh, yeah,
we
that's
know who
right.
you're
That's
talking
right.
about. We know who you're
Like,
talking about. Yeah,
right? Obviously,
Tattoo
right?
Jones.
Very strong, like opinionated. Like they're not going to let him walk all over them. But it's
Right.
interesting because we never really see Tariq truly interact. Like, yeah, a little bit like a Shamenti or Barbara, like in the hallway, but it's more like him being like Tariq and them just being like, yeah, you're an idiot. Like that, but like watching him again, where it was just like you assume Janine is going to do all these things, like how he wrote like the bathroom pass, where it was like VIP pass or something. It's
Always doing the most.
yeah, but like it's just like an interesting like the entitlement, but it does really only seem to be directed when Janine has like he doesn't really act that way with the PTA. Like he never plays like the I'm like high in the PTA card. I should get these things.
The
And
part
so
of this, Sarah Beth, that interests me as well, probably interests me the most out of this, maybe in Tariq's mind, it's a pseudo love triangle, but we know it's not, is the Gregory of it all.
mhm.
And when someone talks to your partner, when someone talks to your lady a certain type of way, how do you navigate that conversation, especially if you are at a workplace, especially if you're around children? We just had a conversation about expletives. Knowing Gregory Eddie the way we do, how does he or how will he continue to navigate when Tariq is talking his stuff? Because I I would feel a way if like, bro, you moved on. We're happy over here. Can you just
I,
be easy and step back?
and
That's
I
not
think that
okay.
shows though like the confidence he has in the relationship, right? Like
Definitely.
he knows
Definitely.
Janina's not like he
He's not a
never
threat
has
at
a
all.
story.
Yeah. Tariq is not a threat.
That because like I just love too that like he never really engages with Tariq, where like he just kind of like rolls his eyes and like walks away. Like he's like, whatever. Which is funny, like thinking back because I did I know I had messaged you guys that I was watching the It's Always Sunny episode with Abbott and like thinking about like how Janine had the totally different response to D being all over Gregory, that she had this like I'm gonna fight
Yes.
her. And
Yes.
being like it's a very interesting like, parallel, really, like when you think about it, because you're like D and Tariq are really on that equal like line of like insane, and neither of them would go for the other one. That like, but like it shows like where he's very confident within the relationship that
For sure.
like he just thinks Tariq is ridiculous and a nuisance. Like
Yeah, he's not wrong. He is
mhm.
not wrong whatsoever. We love this is a Gregory Eddy fan podcast, as we know. Mike Steph, thoughts on the Tariq of it all before I mention one more note before we get to Theory Corner?
No, I agree with that method of just ignoring, because we've had discussions about some of my past thing, and you called me a gaslighter because certain people would like to talk to my wife before we got married, and I'm like, yeah, go ahead, yeah, go, yeah. Look, doesn't she look great? She looks beautiful. Go ahead, talk to her. Knowing darn well, yeah, I'm with her. Oh, but why didn't you tell me that was your girlfriend? It's none of your business, Listen, you can talk to her. She's not gonna talk to you, but go ahead, talk to her. And yeah, he really, Tyler always said I was in the wrong for that. And looking back, perhaps, but also, but to which go to correlate it to this is my confidence in my wife. Like, I don't need to follow her around. Like a lot of times if we go to gatherings, she goes one way, I go another, and we meet up at the end, or we, when it's time to eat or something like that. I don't need to follow her every move. She doesn't need to follow my every move. If somebody wants to dance, like, dance. It doesn't matter. So for him to have that demeanor, that's probably the best thing. Instead of like that parent that was in a couple seasons back that wanted to fight Greg
Forgot
because of his son, and then he came back a couple episodes later, like, listen, I told you. So you can now imagine if Greg would have handled that in a different way, then him being passive, so to speak, or confident in this respect would be glaring. But being the fact you already see his demeanor of, listen, I'm not stressing none of this. I know I'm confident in myself. I'm confident in my abilities. Confident in my woman. Listen, y'all on the trip. Y'all can trip. So no, that was great.
My last thought here. My low key favorite moment of the episode was again this continuation from episode 1 about the facilities of Abbott really needing some renovations. We've known this for several seasons. I love when Ava is working on these school upgrades, so much so in her own Ava Coleman way, where she connects the school PA system to her Bluetooth, and Macarena plays, much to the delight of students. My question for you both: what is the better song, Macarena or Suavemente? Where are we ranking those two? Two iconic songs, two songs on my playlist. You play it and everybody's gonna know it. It's gonna bring people out to the dance floor or kids dancing. Macarena or Suavemente? Most important question I have for you both.
Suavemente.
Suavemente. But
Just because
Macarena, you can do the easy
the
dance. You
Macarena
don't
was
have to.
just so.
It's easy
Yes,
access though. Everybody can do the dance. No,
Suavemente.
Sarah Beth.
Macarena.
Oh,
I had a first grade
yes.
teacher. I think I was in first grade when Macarena like became like famous, and that was like our Friday. I think we did it every Friday or something, and it's just one of those things. Every time I hear that song, I picture like Miss Van, first grade, or buddy like. I remember we had a fifth or sixth grade buddy class, and actually, because this is my like fun fact claim to fame. Do you remember the show Gullah Gullah Island? It was on Nickelodeon.
Gullah Gullah
No,
Island.
not at all.
Heather.
Not at
It was
all.
like
Oh my
on Nick
goodness.
Jr.
Sorry.
That was one of my favorite. The
Oh, Nick
sister
Joker.
was at my school. So she was in my sixth grade, like, but she wasn't my buddy, but she was in like the girl that played the sister. I can't believe you don't know. Oh,
No,
it
I'm
was
not
the
being
best. It's
facetious. I
about a
really
family
do.
that lives on Gullah Gullah Island. They're Gullah Geechees. And like, so it went a
I'm
lot into like, which is like an island off of, I want to say South Carolina. It's been a really long, they're actually
Yes.
doing a reboot. I don't know
Oh,
if you know.
really?
They're doing like
Oh,
a reboot
no.
where they go back to the island where the kids are like grown. Like it's
No, leave it alone.
I
Classics. Leave it
know.
alone.
I don't know. That
Leave
was
it
one of my
alone.
favorite. And they had Binya, and he was a polywog, and he was like the size of like Barney.
Oh my
And they would
God.
do, it was like a preschool, like early kinder show where they did different like learning type. But because they lived on the island and they're Gullah Geechee, they would like do a lot of like cultural like thing
Dances and stuff.
representation of it and stuff. It was a great show.
This has been a great episode for 90s references. I'm
I
incredibly
know it's insane.
proud of us. I was
Well,
watching all that and Keenan and Kel, and I mentioned Fresh Prince earlier, but that's kind of
Yep.
a different time period. But I was
Yep.
all about Nickelodeon, but I missed that one.
It was on like Nick, what was it, Junior?
Nick
Like what was
Jr.
on during
episode.
the day.
Yeah.
Do y'all remember Wow Wow Wubsy?
No,
Sounds really
never heard of
familiar.
that.
Well, this came out in like 05, 06. My
Oh,
daughter
Heard
Kay,
it, but
she was
Maybe
a
Van Kay.
Wow Wow Wubsy fanatic. You know, it's like this little box, and I don't know if she was a cat. It was a cat or something, but yeah, it was hot for maybe about 2 years. So like
That's a good
from,
window.
like,
That's a good run.
yeah, for about 2 years. You know, I know when she was 3 or 2 or 3, I had to get her the Wow Wow Wubsy plush toy. You know, but yeah, I'll put a link in the group chat about Wow Wow Wubsy.
Hey.
Yeah, they even had a Beyonce episode. I don't know if it was really Beyonce, but it was like Beyonce like episode of Wow Wow Wubsy. Yeah, beautiful.
Wow.
Nick Jr.
Blues Clues was my jam as well.
Blue's
But
Clues
we could
was
talk.
great.
We could talk 90s all day, you two.
Okay.
We teased this earlier. It is time for Theory Corner. So you know how we do it on our Abbott podcast. We take a look back at what we've already seen, but then we also discuss what could be ahead. We have some theories. We have some predictions. I want to start with mine, and then we'll kick it to Sarah Beth, my Theory Corner. I've been waiting all podcasts to share this with you both. I was completely unfulfilled and disappointed in these 2 episodes of season 5. I was expecting, not a facetious bone in my body, Mike Steph. I was expecting just great episodes and for them to hit, but they were just kind of they were okay. They were like a Chance the Rapper's debut album, or something where I had so much hype for going into it. And okay, there were moments, but it didn't sustain me throughout. So my theory is episode 3. What's the title? Ball Game, I believe. This is where they're going to be at the Philadelphia
Yes,
Phillies
I
game.
think
We've
they
seen
changed
some of the
it.
promo
Originally it
shots.
was game night, but now I think it's
Yes.
ball game because it's
Yes,
the
Ball
Phillies.
Game. Ball Game episode 3 and then Game Night episode 4. My
Mhm.
theory is these two are going to hit. No pun intended. They have to.
They
At
have
least
to.
for me here in Glendale in the Valley, because I was really disappointed with the first 2 episodes. They just didn't stand out to me as being memorable. I think by the end of the season, I'm not going to think about these first 2 episodes at all. But Game Night, Ball Game, I have incredibly high hopes. And if they don't deliver, I'll probably tag Abbott Elementary on Instagram. They don't respond to us anyway.
It'll be
But
the one time they do
that's
respond.
yeah. Then we're blocked and then not blocked. I need these 2 to hit. I love this show. I love you both. They got to get me back. I wonder, audience, if I'm the only person who felt this way. Let us know at
No.
4AZ Teach.
They don't hold up the standards of the Bachelor universe.
No. So I consider this art versus the time I
Okay.
invest in Batch is just it's time I'm never going to get back, Mike. It's something I regret, but I'm hooked on Batch. I have high expectations for Abbott, artistic expectations. I have none for Golden Bachelor.
Okay, that's a guilty pleasure.
It's very much a guilty pleasure. So I think these 2 episodes are going to hit, but I really need them to, because for whatever reason, episode 1, episode 2 of season 5, they were fine and completely unremarkable.
Mhm.
Sarah Beth, what say you?
I
Theory corner.
agree. Like, they were fine. I wonder if it's more I can see where they're possibly like planting seeds for like bigger storylines. Like you said, I can't think of his name now, but like the new teacher that like taught with like he just disappeared kind of episode 2. The counselor, I was thinking when they introduced her, they did make it very clear like she's working at like 6 schools and like all these things that I don't think we'll see her as often, just because like they already set the stage that like she's at all these school sites and things. But there wasn't anything that like held like Barbara really wasn't, and like she's more like mentioned on. Same thing with even like Ava, like other than Ava coming around to talk about how much she's in love with O'Shawn, which super happy for my girl, but like she's not really doing much like other than that, right? Like even lately she's not like her usual like Ava self, like, and in some ways, right, good for her, like not as like selfish, self-centered, but like it's just like an odd where these felt like filler episodes and not like these are episodes I would expect to see like throughout the season when they know, you know, it's the week after Thanksgiving. And so not everyone's turning in because like they're exhausted from like the holidays. And I know I can't now think of which one. There was an episode we talked about last season where it was kind of like this, where we were just like, it just was fine. And so I do agree. Like there's just nothing. I don't feel like there's anything to really build a season on right now. But I could see like pieces, right? Playing more into that, like either middle school, the kid teaching with her, the district coming back. Like it's been clear, like they said, we're going to be like, that wasn't just like, you have to do the team building thing and we're done. Like they set it up of like, this is a consequence. We're going to be here. But yeah, it just wasn't very, like, even Tariq, like, right? It's just Tariq being annoying. Like, it wasn't, right? Like the worst like Gregor would have to worry about is like him being annoying and continuing to hit on Janine and Janine being like, no. Like.
And Sarah Beth, if I may interject, word to Usher Raymond IV, this might be my confession on air. A potential sub-theory for me is maybe this is my call that we need O'Shawn back. I saw him in the promo for episode 3 Ball Game. Maybe I am calling for the return of O'Shawn. It's not enough for us to see him in Ava's slideshow. Where is this man? We need him back. He's a pivotal part of the cast. These are my confessions. Mike Steph.
I swear, just now I felt like I had inhabited the body of Brad Winchester on Gimmick Infringement. When you say something that he's about to say, and then all of a sudden, like, damn it, that's my question. You stole my question. Because that was actually what I was alluding to, that the specter of O'Shawn has been over these 2 episodes, but you have not seen him in person, which makes me theory. conspiracy theory. Is it possible that Ava is being so over the top with her love of O'Shawn and showing everybody about all the good times that they had during the summer break that things are not what they seem? That's why you did not see O'Shawn the first 2 episodes? Because you would think the way she was going on about, oh, look at my man, I'm in love. Yeah, she was even she was trying to be messy when it came to Janine and Greg and Tariq, like, oh, I want to see some mess because guess what? I'm in love. Is there a reason why she's going so over the top so she can put out this projection of a perfect relationship of how it's bloomed over the summer, but they are having problems behind the scenes, and that's why he didn't even come by to give her some flowers, to wish her a great first day of school. He didn't come pick her up, even with just a random drive-by, come to pick her up after the team building. Something is up. Maybe instead of us concerning ourselves about what's been planted, the seeds that have been planted, maybe we should concern ourselves about the things that we did not see, and that is O'Shawn. Now, I'm not jumping off the O'Shawn bandwagon. I'm not saying he did anything wrong. Tell you the truth, if something ended up happening in which one is this problem in paradise, more than likely probably Ava's selfish, conniving, self-centered butt. But, and I say that lovingly because Ava makes the show. She to me she's the Wendy Williams of the show. But yeah, I really believe that is going to be something that we need to look at. And you said he's in the trailer for episode 3, so I think we might get some signs of, okay, is everything what it seems, or there's a reason why Ava's been going overboard about O'Shawn, because now she's kind of like feeling that she did something wrong to try to get O'Shawn back into good graces.
Tyler's very smug right now.
No, that's just my.
You think I didn't see this over there?
That's just my face.
That's just your normal face when you get validated.
That's just my normal face. Sarah Beth, your thoughts on that excellent commentary Mike Steph delivered, and then we'll get to our exit ticket.
I'm I'm an O'Shawn defender till the day I die, which is crazy. I'm just going to chalk it up to he has not been around because he works IT and school just went back in session. And I know he is completing 8 million technology tickets because like our poor IT guy knows, like he just stops by my room when school starts. He's like, how we doing? But something I was thinking about is we really don't, other than Janine in both episodes, really, Janine and Shimenti are the only people who really had like true like storylines. Like, yeah, Jacob and Barbara had that weird like fight over the dishwasher, which was just, and like the involving the concept, but like we barely see Morton. We barely saw Mr. Johnson other than the bike riding. We barely see Gregory Eddy, like other than teaching Mr. Johnson to ride a bike. Like it's a weird where typically it's like really centered around everybody. Like you usually have one or two of them that have like a main storyline, and then you still see like the majority, like what's going on with everybody. But like we barely saw Mr. Johnson kind of like shows up at the last where he's like asking the counselor if she's the new janitor, and he tells her something about like if you work hard and like you could be. But like just like an odd where this like was an episode, both episodes really, where it felt like Shimenti and Janine are like our main characters and everybody else is like a secondary. And usually like they mix it up every episode on who has like these main storylines.
Right. We shall
like
see.
Like it is odd that we really haven't seen Mr. Johnson at all, other than just like a couple like clips.
Has it seemed to y'all, and maybe I'm being too forward, but has it seemed to y'all that it seems like he's aged since last season? Mm-hmm. Like truly, the person behind it seemed, so maybe there's a reason why they kind of pulled back. I don't know. It was glaring to me. It was like, darn, Mr. Johnson he's seeing a little, he's showing his age a little bit more, and I'm not trying to be ageist or anything. It's just so maybe that's the reason why they've only had him spot here. But usually he's really in the center of something comedic or some type of harebrained scheme. I mean, he had at the end of what was it, the first episode or second episode with the dishwasher where he was cooking the salmon and everything. That was like the in scene, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I mean maybe there's reasons behind. Maybe they got a new showrunner.
Maybe he's retiring.
Yeah, maybe that's
possible.
Why that throwaway line of, "Oh, you're the new janitor."
This is trying to force me out, trying to squeeze me out.
Maybe
we remember that.
Interesting. So I do agree with that. I just don't agree with Oshan because he can do no wrong.
He can do no wrong.
I was doing wrong. I'm just saying he wasn't around.
He has not been there. I'm just defending.
Not even
He's very busy.
Not even an illusion that she was on the phone with Oshan. Like, listen, my man on the phone. None of that. It was just like showing the PowerPoint, showing the pictures of Melissa, and that's it.
If she's on the phone with him, she can't show everyone what he looks like with his shirt off. That's the problem.
Yeah, I don't know. Something's behind it. Or I would hate to think that the writing to begin this season has fell off the cliff so much that they don't have reasoning of why it's been so pragmatic.
Yeah.
It's just like, which one? We got two here. It's nothing cohesive.
Because last year, the first 2 episodes, what was it, lice? And I remember lice because that's a big fear in my class.
Yeah, I was going to say, you remember that one, Sarah.
We had a little trauma as we watched it.
Yeah,
but I felt like last year, out the gate, it started out a lot stronger.
Right. Well, and Quinta Brunson has been in that sort of Issa Rae territory for me. Insecure on HBO, one of my favorite streaming series ever, maybe my favorite. Quinta Brunson as an artist and a creator has built up so much goodwill with me and so much trust that I believe in the direction of where we're headed. I thought these episodes were going to hit with me a little bit more, but I am so confident that on our next podcast, when we discuss Ball Game, and what was the other one? It's like Game Night, I think. Yeah, Ball Game and Game Night, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see here. Let me double check. Yeah, Ball Game and Game Night. Lots of games that we are going to have a lot to discuss, and I think it's just going to be a better viewing experience, at least for me. But I trust Quinta. She's in that territory for me. Insecure, Abbott Elementary, some of my favorite pieces of art of the decade.
I agree. I think these were, again, 2 slow starts. But I think we're going to look back maybe at the end of the season and be like, oh, I see, it was slow, but look at all these pieces that
For sure. Yeah, we brought that.
They don't seem to do anything without intention.
And these are long seasons. I don't want episodes for me to just be missable or throwaways. But we know the history of Abbott is, we're strapping in for 20 episodes, 22 episodes. That's a lot of content that we got ahead of us. Well, all right, you two, we will close this conversation as we do every time on our Abbott reviews. Mike Steph, we'll start with you. For this Abbott 2-pack, the first 2 of season 5, who's your biggest winner?
Oh, I'll just go to Old Faithful because I think, just like Sarah Beth was just talking about, it's only really centered around 2. But I'll go to my Old Faithful, Melissa, because she had the scare in the first episode, and then we had the aftermath of what the first episode was for bringing for bolding. So yes, I think Melissa, because it's kind of shaped where her road is going to be for this season. I'm tackling a new frontier, so to speak, just getting out her comfort zone. So yeah, I'll say Melissa.
Sarah Beth, talk to us.
Oh, this one's tough. I've been actually going back and forth between the same 2, and I'm really going to call them both, but also because I feel like both their storylines lead to very similar reasoning. So one, obviously, Shamenti, that's my girl. And as always, I always try not to pick her just because I can't just pick her because she's my favorite. But it really her and Janine, because I think they're really taking a step in be Shamenti doing it from a veteran teacher, and really Janine at this point is the veteran teacher. I was kind of joked that especially right now with teaching having such a high turnover, if you make it past like year 3, you're a veteran, whether you want to be or not. Like, and so they're really stepping in to like these new roles and like evaluating like who they are and like reflecting on it and then like playing to their strengths, right? Like Janine, we see that really in the first episode of she's feeling very competitive because right, she didn't even get Barbara's number for how long and all these things, and then realizing she actually gets to step into that mentor teacher role with him. And then same thing with like Shmindy, like stepping in. Like I love our 6th graders. I couldn't do it. God love them. But like, and to go from 2nd grade to 6th grade, but like the way in which she saw it just like as a challenge, right? Like she makes the joke about like sports betting and it's all percentages anyways, might as well brush up. Like she went into it very confident. Morton and Jacob got in her head. And I think it would have been a way different storyline. But then to see like how she goes from like wanting to be their friend to realizing like that's not working. And so then like how they both just like rose to like the challenge of like, this isn't working. So what do I do about it? And how do I play to like my strengths and use my gifts? Right. Like some of Shmindy's like, even though like she like, it's this like running joke, right? That she's kind of like into some sketchy, knows some sketchy people. She's always got a guy. But part of that is like setting kids up again for like real life. Like I was talking about earlier, like how you talk is like, so let's learn now how we talk like to people appropriately, right? Who are you going to tell your plans to? Maybe not the 2 that are going to rat you out every time without even meaning to. They just can't shut up. Like, and so I think watching them both, like for the like very similar reasons of like stepping into who they are and using their like gifts and their talents, even though they both like struggled like with insecurity and like with not feeling like they were good enough or like what they were doing was enough, and then realizing who they are is enough, but it is enough, but you also have to use your gifts. And it looks very different. And like my classroom doesn't have to look like the classroom next door to me. But like what matters,
Yes.
And
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I don't know that if I really could, I don't know that I could really pick between the 2. I feel like they really carried both episodes and both are, and even just Janine like standing up to Tariq and being like, I can't treat him this way. Like lots of growth from both of them as they are both veteran teachers, whether Janine wants to be or not.
Right, exactly. Well, that leads to my pick. I might surprise you too with this one. My biggest winner from this 2-pack, the first 2-pack of Abbott Elementary Season 5, has got to be Tariq. If you would have told me that we made it to Season 5 and Tariq is an essential part of an episode, one of the first 2 episodes of Season 5, I would have said, there is no way. What are you talking about? And here he is talking his stuff, making sure without Mystique's permission, moving Nick's seat to a different spot, letting, dare I say, the PTA power get to his head. Although we've seen redeemable moments of him in that role, as Sarah Beth pointed out, I am stunned at the longevity of the Tariq character, and he is my winner for this 2-pack. I
would say too, like, yes, he can be very self-centered, but like everything he did in this episode was to support Nick. Went about it the wrong way, but like it wasn't done like with malicious. It was, he wants Nick to be successful. He wants Nick like, because it wasn't even done in a like sucking up to Nick because like I want Nick to tell his mom like to like me. It was genuinely because he thought that's what Nick needed to be successful. Like misguided, yes, because Tariq is usually misguided. But I think it does kind of show he is growing, right? Like season 1, he only cared about himself.
And his
like
music.
We've seen him as he like steps into like the PTO and stuff. And again, this episode never once was anything. Yeah, he was out of line, not a pocket, and I would have lost it if I was Janine.
Yeah, what are we doing? He's still being
a poor little girl. I just think about her. He throws her backpack, and she's like, "My pickles." Like,
yes. Okay, we didn't even talk about that. Yes, the fact that he just does that, and he's still in a good spot.
Right, but it was because in his head, Nick needs to sit here.
Yes.
Like it wasn't about the girl. Like it's very interesting to see. Like yes, he does a lot of things that are very like selfish and self-centered. But season 1, it would have been about like what benefited Tariq, and that's not what that was. It was what benefits Nick to make him successful. So I mean, I'm supposed to go in by 2, but I do agree. Like, he's shown a ton of growth.
More Oshan, less Tariq, please. That's where we're at, straight up. More Oshan, less Tariq. Mike Steph, final thoughts as we close out our first 2-pack recap of season 5.
One last thing on the Janine front about how she's stepping into the veteran role. What got to me was, and this is episode 1, was how she self-internalized it, as in thinking it was something that made her lesser, instead of think of it in a way of when she was the new teacher, she wanted Barbara's acceptance so much, and she fought hard to get that acceptance. But without the Janine situation, maybe that's what softened Barbara enough to be open for newer faculty members to come. And she didn't think that way. She thought of, well, Barbara didn't treat me like that. You know, how come she's treat? Oh, that's because he got favoritism. No, your work in the first year of softening Barbara up to accepting you, or y'all coming to an agreement, allowed Barbara to be open to the fact of, okay, this is my former student. Not only this is my former student, but he's a new teacher, and it's my job as the elder statesman to help him set him up for success. You know, so that was, I really had to think about it, because I mean, not to say too much, but personally, I've been trying to look at the positive side of things more often, instead of thinking so pessimistic. So the first thing that went to mind was like, why did you think it was about you? No, it wasn't about. No, actually, it was about you, but the positive part of what you did, instead of, oh my God, she's treating him better than me. So yeah, that was glaring. And like I said, episode 2 was kind of self-explanatory. And but yeah, Ava's trying to be messy and trying to mess up somebody else's relationship. Meanwhile, her boyfriend is the ghost. That was a little bit more. That was funny. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
Sarah Beth, final thoughts?
Screen.
I don't know. I really have any final. I'm really just interested to see like where this season goes and where we're like set up. I feel like after we've sat in theory corner for a little bit and looked at our like MVPs and things, just some of those like reflective pieces, that I don't have a clue where this season is going. Like, and I'm really interested to see like how it plays out. Like in a good way. Like I just don't have a clue.
For sure.
But I know like I know it's going to be something good. They've yet to like fail us.
Well said.
But it's like just weird to watch 2 episodes and like not have a clue.
Yeah. But something to be said for
and some of that is teaching, right? Like some of that goes back to that's the classroom. There are some days where I'm like, I don't know where we're going with this. Depends on how we do.
The plane, hopefully. Yeah, it depends. All right, you two. This was so fun. To our audience, thank you so much for locking in with us. Again, please let us know what you thought about these first 2 episodes. We would love to hear your theory corner and your predictions. You can drop us a comment here on YouTube. Again, you can follow us on social at 4AZ Teach for exclusive show updates and more. Be sure to support and follow Sarah Beth at Dear Sarah Beth, as well as Mike Steph at Mike_Steph. Quick shout out to 2 previous guests who showed us some love since our last episode. You may recall that in our last podcast, Sarah Beth, Mike Steph, and I were discussing our favorite iPod era songs, since Chingy's Right There has been one of the songs used in the Abbott promo. So big love, big shout out to Eli Blyman at EliBly26 for mentioning that The Sweet Escape by Gwen Stefani, one of my childhood crushes, and Akon was his go-to song during this era, as well as big love and big shout out to Desmond Powell at DesmondPowell_ for mentioning Birdwalk by Soulja Boy as his pick. So much nostalgia, so much fun.
Right. Because I saw the Soulja Boy comment, and that was, but mine was like what was it, Superman? Like that was my first thought too when we were talking, like
Superman,
when it came up. Was Soulja Boy.
Oh my gosh, I remember that. That music video. Oh, what an era. We could go on for 2 hours with all that we have to
And we
discuss.
will.
We are going to end our episode here. Again, support Sarah Beth, support Mike Steph. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You know how we do this. We drop Abbott recap episodes every other Wednesday. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next time. Enjoy Abbott.